Hello everyone, you're listening to The Right Side of Gaming. Today we'll be discussing difficulty and rewards in Magic Legends, as well as a few things they showed but didn't touch on in their recent video. We already knew that there were going to be 4 difficulties: normal, hard, expert, and, now that we know the name of it, master. Hard, expert, and master are unlocked by reaching a certain level in the game. I think they said originally that hard was supposed to be something you unlocked fairly early on. Each increase in difficulty increases enemy damage and health, which is pretty standard in games, and they have a recommended loadout score as well for each of them. In the video, we see 400 for hard, 700 for expert, and 1000 for master. It's also worth noting that it's not just the amount of rewards that scale, but it looks like the types of rewards also increase with difficulty. Hard gives you a bonus to gold, XP, unrefined aether, and planar mana. Expert increases the amount of all those, but also adds a boost to Spell Shard and Relic Fragments. Finally, Master increases all of the previous, but also adds Chromatic Mana, which is your white, blue, black, red, green, and something called Eternal Echoes. And no, I have no idea what that is, but given that it's attached to the Master difficulty, I'd assume it's some type of in-game resource. They'll also be adding regional and world enchantments as well, which I think we expected some variation of in the game, particularly whenever we were discussing end-game content and the parts of the play around that they haven't really gone into yet. So regional and world enchantments increase rewards, and each region and its overworld maps will have rotating regional enchantments. So you'll get a new enchantment every couple of weeks. These enchantments are optional at hard difficulty and are automatically applied for expert and master. They gave us a few examples of regional enchantments. Burning is exactly what it sounds like. You'll have enemies that are on fire, and it causes them to deal damage over time to nearby players. Final Explosion causes enemies to explode on defeat and deal damage. All that is pretty standard stuff in these types of games, and it would make me personally want to take a build that didn't rely on getting too close to enemies. So maybe something with a little more range than melee focus. But you get the idea of the type of enchantments that they're looking at. World enchantments are effects you apply yourself. You craft them in the Prophetic Quill, which I guess makes it sound like in game you're writing it down and it just comes true or whatever. But it's a structure in your personal realm. So you're going to be crafting them in your own personal realm, or you can trade them between players at the broker, which I think we'll probably come back to later. These world enchantments increase rewards and are consumed on use, so they're a one-time only thing. Or at the very least, each individual usage is one-time only. I'm sure you can get more copies of each one later on. They come in 3 tiers that increase difficulty, damage, and they add complexity to the encounter. They give us a few examples. Overarching Magic says that you and your summoned creatures do half damage unless you have an enchantment spell active. So we'd want to have at least some enchantment spells in your deck, or depending on what it means by you and your summoned creatures, you might be able to get around that by having an all-sorcery deck. I don't know. Paranoia states that enemies will target you in preference to your creatures, so you can't really use them as a blocking wall as much. Which, if you're running a summonless, creatureless build, that works out pretty well. I mean, it won't really affect you whatsoever. Mana Brawl says that you're not going to regain mana normally, you get it back whenever you use a class ability. So if you're one of those people that wants to get in and just use your class abilities and smack things around that way, that works out pretty well. Finally, we have Death Servant, which you'll probably recognize from all sorts of games. It's that slow-moving NPC that you can't really kill or do anything to, but if it touches you, you die. I've played games with this in there before, and it's one of those, you just have to keep moving and dodging it, but otherwise, it doesn't really affect you. If you're one of those people that likes to move around a lot in combat, and you're good at it, this probably would be a great one because it's not really going to affect you. If you're one of those people that gets sort of tunnel vision and winds up staying still, there's a good chance it'll sneak up on you and you're dead. They had a page up with some examples. I noticed that they have both Selesnya and Dimir resistance, which suggests to me that there's going to be a resistance world enchantment you can apply for each of the 10 guilds, which, if you're not aware, we talk about the 2-color combinations in Magic by the guilds of Ravnica. Okay? There's a plane in Magic the Gathering where each 2-color combination is represented by a guild in Ravnica, and that's where we get Selesnya and Dimir. But basically, a resistance to each 2-color pairing in Magic. There's a couple of others that, at the very least, give me an idea of what might be in there. For example, arachnophobia means there's going to be some spiders involved for sure. Healing spheres, maybe that means there's going to be little drops for enemies to pick up, things like that. But it'll be interesting to see what all of those do. Or talking about all the colors in Magic the Gathering, I would like to point out the creature vulnerabilities that they showed on the screens for Shiv and Cabal. If you're not aware, Shiv is a red aligned plane. And if you look at the back of a Magic card, you can see all the colors in order in a circle: white, blue, black, red, green. And we talk about allied colors and enemy colors. Allied colors are the ones right next to it. So red would have allied colors in green and black because they're right next to it. And then enemy colors, which are the ones opposite of it. So the enemy colors for red would be white and blue because they're across from red. If you look at the screenshot for Shiv, you'll see that it has creature vulnerabilities for white and blue, which would be the enemy colors of red. And then you can take a look at the one for Cabal, and Cabal is typically a black aligned organization. And you can see that its creature vulnerabilities are white and green, which are the enemy colors of black. Black is right next to red and blue, so those would be its allied colors, and it's across from white and green, so those would be its enemy colors. I thought it was interesting that the example showed enemy colors. I don't know if that's going to be the case for every region, but it was interesting, if nothing else. They also had a new design for the gear page. Personally, I like the original one that we saw, or at least the previous one that we saw. That was a little more in line with sort of traditional games. This seems a little minimalist, but it's not bad either. They also showed off a new artifact, a new legendary artifact even. Hallowed Sanctuary. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell costing white mana, creatures you control gain whenever this creature dies. Create a copy of rank 1 Divine Wrath at its location for 10 seconds. So whenever you cast a white enchantment, so you'd probably want a couple of them in your deck, your creatures will basically create a little death zone whenever they die. And the rank of it is improved with each sorcery spell in your deck. So you can have stronger wraths, or you can have more wraths, because you'll have to balance either having more sorceries or having more creatures in your deck, along with at least one enchantment. We also saw that there were level up rewards, and it looks like you get a specific bonus applied at each level. So it's not just, your damage and health go up a little bit every level. No. We see that over 30 levels, this particular Planeswalker has gotten bonuses to damage, health, creature damage, creature health, critical damage, gold drop rate, spell page drop rate, relic fragment drop rate, and when it levels up again, it'll get another spell page drop rate increase. This suggests to me it'll be more effective to farm for relics and spells after you've leveled up rather than trying to do a whole lot of it at the beginning, because you are getting that increased drop rate when you've leveled up. Finally, it'll be interesting to see what all you can use the broker for. I thought of spells as more of an unlock rather than an actual physical item, and it seemed like your gear was going to be something similar. You get a piece of gear, and then whenever you get another piece, it just sort of dissolves and disappears into either crafting material or an unlock for that specific piece of gear. If it turns out you can have the same piece of gear with different modifiers on them. So let's say this one gave a bonus to red mana resistance. Maybe you can get a drop that gives a bonus to green mana resistance instead, and then I can understand having 2 pieces of gear and wanting to be able to sell them. I don't know if that's going to be the case. We at least know this is going to be an option for selling world enchantments. I don't know what else we're actually going to be able to sell on those just yet. It will, however, be interesting to see to what extent a player economy is going to be viable. And I think that's all I had that I wanted to pick out for today. Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to leave a comment, like, subscribe, that would be great. I'd really appreciate it. If not, that's okay too. I understand. Either way, I hope you have an awesome day, and I will catch you next time.